Let's have a look now at what you had to say about the situation. News 24 Live producers took to the streets to ask your opinion on whether the police were performing their tasks effectively. Now, Xolo, you were out on the streets.
Yes.
What was the general feeling?
Well, on top of people being nervous to even express themselves regarding what they do feel about the police, there was this huge sense of fear that I couldn't quite get around. But the people who did express themselves did really mention that they didn't trust the police to handle their own issues if they were in a case of emergency, and that they thought the police used a lot of violence. And I'm sure we'll see in this video that you see a lot of people reiterating that fact.
I think it's important to note, though, that while we do try and speak to as wide a variety of people when it comes to these opinion polls, we really are speaking to people here in the Cape Town CBD,
Definitely.
and that probably informs a lot of their opinions. But let's have a look at what was said.
Sometimes I feel that there are not restrictions or limitations to the way that they react to certain situations. Also, perhaps there's not enough supervision towards their sort of actions that they take in the line of duty.
Actually, for me, they're doing a great job. I feel safe when they're around me, so I can't complain of them, really.
It's divided in between. At times it's good, at times it's very bad. But the bad overweights the good.
If you're walking and something happened right in front of you, they might do something. But if you have to call them because someone broke in your house, that might take 2 to 3 hours.
When my child's father took the child, they said, yeah, I must bring that to the police station. But I mean, it took the child from my own without me telling me, can I have the child? And they said, no, they're not going to help me. I had to wait 4 hours at Delft police station for them to help me.
I think they do a good job, but I just wish they would be a little bit more faster at responding to calls and when you have an emergency. And I wouldn't necessarily call them again. We have ADT, so I'd rather let ADT come and sort it out than the police.
Some of them are giving us a good service. Others obviously are failing the public. So I think the department should be doing something about those who are not doing their job properly.
Why don't you comment on what people in Cape Town are saying?
Very interesting. I mean, it's quite encouraging to see some people complimenting the police, but it's very difficult. I mean, the police are stuck between a rock and a hard place. They're damned if they do, they're damned if they don't. If police are aggressive and proactive in their approach, often they may have elements of their police force guilty of police brutality. It's absolutely unacceptable, and lines need to be drawn. On the other hand, the same communities that complain about police brutality complain that the police are too soft on criminals. We have a huge escalation, I believe, of mob justice and the necklacing and killing of people accused of crime. So we have impatient, angry communities wanting to see criminals brought to justice. And in fact, actually, these communities sometimes are violently wanting to see criminals brought to justice. And on the other hand, we have communities who accuse the police of being brutal and of police brutality. The truth is somewhere in between, and the reality is people will judge the police based on their own experience with the police. There are some police stations where in a police station you have one person who's known to be the Chuck Norris of that police station, who is known to be violent and rough and aggressive. And then other people in that police station who are extremely compassionate and humane. The question is, how do we rope in those violent elements, and how do we ensure that the compassionate side of the police is shown while still holding accountable criminals? Police have a responsibility to ensure the safety and security of communities. That is their job. Now, to ensure that they're able to do that, we need to ensure that the police are given the confidence. And I think that's where Commissioner or General Bheki Cele's popularity came from. As much as News 24 viewers and people like myself living in suburbs might want to be very critical of the shoot to kill comment and the Bheki Cele general posture when it came to policing, it went quite far in building confidence among the police force. And you find that communities, many of them are actually begging for Bekele to now return. So there isn't a consensus among South Africans themselves around what kind of police they want. There isn't a consensus around whether we want a police force or a police service. And so long as this confusion continues, criminals find loopholes to, on one hand, commit really violent, malicious crimes, on the other hand, play the victim as people who've been targeted aggressively by police who are brutal. Then, of course, we have a whole other sector, which was mentioned by the other speaker here, and that is the issue of public policing. How do we ensure that people's right to be active and even militant in civil society, demanding human rights or better wages or better living conditions, are afforded that democratic right and it's not infringed upon by police? At the same time, how do we ensure that those groups don't infringe on other people's right to exist and to live in peace and harmony in their communities?